Hey guys, how you doing? So if you're new to my channel, remember, just now, like, share, subscribe, just do it all together at once, okay? So I came across this video by Fabulous Life of Lala, and this was after I had a conversation with my sister about life living in New York. And so when I told her about it and we're laughing about it, she goes like, oh my god, there's a girl who did a video about how life is living in New York. So I went to her YouTube. I started to watch her videos and I was laughing. I was bawling my eyes out because it was hilarious when I saw how many similarities we had in terms of experiences. I was like, oh my god, I should do a video that is similar to hers because the topic resonates so well. The experiences I've been through. I'll be sharing my personal unfiltered experience when it comes to living in New York and what my experience has generally been. So shout out to House. Let me just go through her account again. I'll be looking at my phone in case you guys see me looking down. So shout out to the Fabulous Life of Lala. She's the inspiration behind me doing this particular video. So let's get right on into it. I'll be looking at my notes because I jotted down a few notes, but as I am jotting down my notes, I'm sure when I'm sharing my notes, I'll be able to equally just, you know, go off in terms of what I've experienced. The first thing I noticed when I moved to New York, the very first thing I noticed is that life in New York is generally fast-paced. Everybody is always on the go. Nobody's really very laissez-faire, very relaxed. Because I noticed these videos that a lot of people tend to post, a lot of influencers tend to post, and people who come to, like, you know, experience New York or tour New York post these videos and they make everything seem very, you know, glam, very soft, very sensual, very slow. But in reality, when you get to this place, everything is fast-paced. Everybody is walking really fast. You know you're a New Yorker if you start to walk very fast. Like, you have this extra kick in your step. When you go to stores, when you go to the bank, when you go to eateries and all kind of stuff, you find things are done a little faster. So generally, New York itself is a fast-paced state. And if you see yourself living in New York, that is something that you would have to come in terms with. That is something that you would have to, like, bring into your space and accept as part of your reality. So number two. So one thing I noticed when I initially moved to New York, I noticed that people are really kind here. So I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, they've come across people who are not exactly the kindest. But in my own personal experience, when I just moved, I think maybe I was just approaching the right people. I came across a lot of people who are willing to help me get by, willing to help me find my next step, willing to direct me and the like. So it all depends on who you're looking at. Of course, if you see a person who doesn't look very welcoming or who looks closed up, you're better off not approaching that person, because if a person already looks like they're out to get you, they're going to fight you if you go towards them. Why would you put yourself in such a position, right? But generally, speaking for myself, I would say I have come across a number of friendly people, a lot of people who are just, like, open and willing to help. Of course, in order for them to do that, you have to ask for the help that you require. So the third point is literally going to contradict my second statement a little bit. Now, I noticed people are always eager to get into an altercation or whatever, but I think it also comes with the environment. It's like everybody's just, like, you know, on the go. Everybody's, like, always busy, and then you're also encountering a lot of people who are facing a lot of mental health challenges, people who are going through their own frustrations and are looking for who to take it out on. So because of that, it's like you're almost always guarded, and because of that, a lot of people you encounter, like maybe in instances like you're in a train, you encounter people who seem like they just want to fight somebody. You find that somebody's staring at you, and the intention behind that is literally to get a fight out of you, you know? So you find that people are always ready to fight, even when it's something that shouldn't be fought over. you get to sometimes to restaurants and you have someone yelling and whatnot, and the other person is literally getting aggressive as well. And so I have seen a lot of that here in New York. So when you get here, you just have to be like super tough, or when you're in this space, you have to be super, you know, tough. If you're like me and you can't fight, just avoid being in spaces where all that is going on. Or when you see someone who looks like they want to fight you, take yourself out of that space. That's what I personally do. I don't put myself in spaces that will compromise me, and I prefer to be away from such spaces, and I think it's a wise thing to do for anybody that knows they can't do so. So my fourth observation is going to be that I noticed a lot of people had a lot of mental health issues. So when I moved to New York, I noticed like you would find a lot of people are out in the streets and they seem a little bit off. So you find that a lot of them seem to have mental health issues. It could be maybe due to life's challenges. It could be due to, you know, society. It could be also due to the drug exposures they've had out in the public, because a lot of people are indulging in things they shouldn't be indulging in as well, that maybe experiences led them to that point. And because you see a lot of this, you're also exposed to a lot of unfavorable situations, because a lot of people who are in such situations are willing to do anything to get a buck, you know, in order to meet a certain need. Such people will sometimes attack you for no apparent reason. Like literally you'd be like going about your day, living your life. And I remember Lala mentioned this and I was like, oh my god, this is so real. You could literally be just seated on a train and someone just does something to you out of the blue. So you constantly have to be aware of your surrounding. And I just wish there was like a move or something like that they could do in order to like create more mental health facilities, get people off the streets, and make the streets generally safer for the general public, and equally give those individuals the help they need, you know, in order to just make it a whole better state for everybody. That is like one of the things that personally give me a bit of anxiety when I'm out in the streets. There's certain areas when you go there, you are constantly guarded because you're not really sure what's about to happen next. You constantly have to be like extra aware, because as it is in New York, naturally you're going to be aware of your surrounding. If they never told you, now you know. You're going to be aware of your surrounding. But in certain spaces, you're going to be extra aware. And it would be nice to like let your guard down a little in certain spaces. If like moves were made in order to move these people from being out in the streets and, you know, give them the necessary help that they need. So another thing I equally noticed is housing is generally hard to find, and I'm speaking from a personal experience. I remember going with my sister looking for housing, and oh my god, the difficulties we had in getting me a space. It was so difficult for me to get a space to move into. You find like everything seems like you have everything on ground. You have all the paperwork in place that they require, and someone like beat you to it like a minute or 2 minutes. Like, make that make sense. Like, could you imagine? And even when you're looking for, so some people will say, oh, it's because you're looking for individual apartments. No, this is even when you're looking for shared apartments. So in my case, I was looking for a shared apartments because I'm not in a state where I was able to like afford a single household, like where I have a whole house to myself or a whole apartment to myself. So what was more sustainable for me was like a shared apartment. But even with the shared apartments, you're literally, they're struggling to just get a room, a general space to live in. And I think because of that, it's also easy to find yourself on the streets. And I think that's why you have a lot of homeless people in New York. And that's why you also have a lot of people with mental health challenges. And I will be very honest with you. I was taken in. My sister took me in. And because of that, I am generally luckier. Like, I am lucky. And I don't take this for granted. I'm very aware of how lucky I am to have a roof over my head, to have food on my plate, and just generally have a place to stay. Because I don't know, you know, like coming from far, how things would have actually turned out for me had she not taken me in. And so for that, I'm like always going to be grateful, and I'm never going to take that opportunity, or the opportunity I've been given, for granted, you know. But generally it's hard to get space here in New York, be it you're looking for your own personal space, be it you're looking to share a space. It's generally hard to get housing or to get accommodation. Then aside from it just being difficult, you also have to deal with the fact that it's equally expensive. It's very expensive for you to get housing. Can you imagine? Aside from it being hard, it's also very, very expensive. What you would be paying in other states for a big house, that is the price that you'll be paying for a very small space here in New York. You know, I think I remember seeing someone share a video of their living situation here in New York, and I was like, oh my God. They're paying so much money for a very teeny tiny, and I mean very teeny tiny space. And especially if you want to live in the city, you will have to give up certain luxuries, you know, to live a certain life that you want in the city, worse off. And like when you're living in one of the other boroughs and whatnot. But even the boroughs themselves are generally expensive. Like, they're expensive. But life in general, in terms of like housing, is expensive and is hard to get. I don't know why. It baffles me, and I wish there was more sustainable ways. But if you know of sustainable housing and whatever, do share in the comment section. For anybody who will be watching this video and they're looking for housing, who knows, that could be an opportunity for them to get something, and who knows, maybe someday even me. Another thing that was noticed, the dirty streets. That is the stuff that influencers and a lot of people don't show you. The streets in New York are generally filthy. Like, they are dirty. And the saddest part is, you will see people who actually come in to clean the streets, who take the time off to clean the streets. But so for some strange reason, the streets still get very dirty. Like, very, very, very dirty. Like, they could be cleaned by 5 a.m. and by 9, 10, the streets are filthy again. Like, I do not know why people don't take the extra step to clean up their own spaces, you know, to clean out their environments, or take the extra step to ensure that they do not litter places. I don't know, it's either that or there's something more to it that I don't understand. Maybe it's the fact that the place is highly populated as well, so that plays a key factor into, you know, spaces generally getting filthy. But if we're being honest, a lot of parts of New York, especially the city, are dirty. And you know what, the boroughs too, the streets are dirty. But of course, there's certain areas that you'll go to that are like very clean in New York. So if you go upstate, it's cleaner. Staten Island is cleaner. You go to places like Long Island, it's cleaner. The Hamptons and all those places. Those places are generally cleaner in comparison to the city itself and the boroughs. But of course, there are exceptions even within the boroughs. Okay, let's get to the vast amount of opportunities. I have noticed that New York generally offers a vast amount of opportunities. Lala stated this, and I am equally going to state it. If you are passionate about something, I think this is a good place to get to, but you just have to put yourself in a mental state where you are well aware of the challenges you're going to face before you get to that state of luxury. It may take a while, it may be quicker. Other people have luck in such a way that things happen quicker for them, and other people, life will generally take a little bit longer. But at the end of the day, if there's an opportunity, just put yourself in a space where you're able to, you know, get exposed to that opportunity, and eventually, if you're putting yourself out there, the opportunity will be granted. The opportunity is going to come to you. So it is definitely a place of opportunities, regardless of every other experience that we may say is negative. There are also a vast majority of people who have made it here because of the opportunities that New York has offered them. And in as much as it's populated, there's always a lot of opportunities that are here, that are readily available, and some opportunities are untapped. So it is still a place worth exploring. Now let's get to dating. So dating in New York is generally a game of checkers. I'm not even gonna say chess or whatever. At first, when I put down my point, I was like, it's a game of chess. I was like, no, it's a game of checkers. You're gonna kiss a lot of frogs. It's gonna weigh in on your mental well-being. It's going to affect you. It's going to bother you. Lala stated this: you can be the prettiest girl and you will be shocked about the amount of nonsense you're going to go through. You know, like, I'm going to speak for myself. Do you guys see this? You guys see this, right? I am a pretty girl. I shouldn't have said that. A lot of us are pretty girls. But generally, you could be the prettiest girl, and I'm not even the prettiest girl, and you will still, like, get to kiss a lot of frogs. A lot of people, I think maybe because we have, like, a lot of people, men are spoiled for choice. I don't even know. Women are spoiled for choice. I don't even know. I don't think people are just really serious about getting into serious, stable relationships. People take dating as a game. They date for fun. They date for sport. It's like a sport here. Like, everybody's just dating everybody and sleeping with everybody, and just everybody's just doing everything with everybody. Like, it's just hard to get a good, a healthy, exclusive relationship with a healthy person who understands good communication, who's looking for a healthy relationship, and doesn't come with the toxic red flags. If you're getting into a relationship, most likely that person has a red flag. So, you know, when you're trying to get into a relationship, you're going to go through all of that. It's hectic. It is hell. It is horrible. It is the trenches. But yeah, we will get out of this. We will get out of this. We will get out of this, because we are still hopeful, okay? In as much as life is going to drag us down in this dating world, we're still going to be putting ourselves out there. We're still going to keep coming, okay? We'll still be coming out there to this war into getting a partner. Oh God. I'm even laughing saying this. I believe in love, guys. I believe in love. Okay, so until I get what's mine, I will still put myself out there. I'm sorry, I feel silly saying this, but it's the truth, okay? It's the truth. So another major thing I noticed about New York, people are always ready to exploit you. A lot of people will look at you and see an opportunity out of you. So you've got to be wise. You've got to be careful about who you're around, who you're friends with, who you're exposing yourself to, who you're telling your personal business to, who you're sharing your personal secrets with. Everybody's looking, okay, not everybody, but a lot of people are looking to exploit you. A lot of people are looking to make an opportunity out of you. So you've got to be very careful. You've got to be very woke. You've got to be very aware of this, you know, in New York. And I noticed that, and it's pretty sad, but I've been in positions where, and especially I remember when I first came, where I could openly tell, because I'm very aware, more of like a conscious person, like not the most, but I am like greatly conscious to a larger extent, and I could tell to say, okay, this is not someone wanting to help me. This is someone trying to exploit me and exploit my position, my vulnerability at the time. So you will discover that there are a lot of people who are like that. Point number 11, and this is one of my biggest points: almost everybody minds their business. Now, Lala stated that a lot of people live in this state of self, and that is generally true. And I've also noticed a lot of people mind their personal business, and I think people mind their business because, one, life is fast-paced, and because everybody's living for themselves, no one's really out there to help you. 3, people are out to fight you, out to get you. People are out to exploit you. So because of that, you generally have to become a person who just stands for self. you have to look out for you, because it's like you against the world. And also you discover that even when you see something, generally you will see something and you will act like you haven't seen anything. Unless it's something that's very detrimental, all you have to do is dial the cops and try to like put yourself in a space where you are generally safer. Get yourself to a space that is safer. So generally you will see a lot of nonsense, a lot of traumatizing stuff, a lot of disturbing stuff, and you will act like you haven't seen anything, because you're doing that to protect and safeguard you. You're doing that to ensure that you are okay. You're doing that to ensure that you're generally safe. So that is something that I have noticed about New York, and I also got into it. When you get into the train, I actually need to do a video about this, like sharing with people how to like move in public transport in New York. I think that's going to be a fun video. You get into the train, your eyes go straight onto your phone until you get to where you need to get to. Even when you see something that's like looks a bit worrisome, like you try to avoid being exposed to that. But if it's something that is like generally extremely scary, you know that you need to dial the cops. But otherwise, generally people mind their own business. It's a good and it's a bad thing. It's a good thing because you are free to live your life. If you want, walk out in your underwear and a shirt and heels. People would generally just leave you alone. But aside from that, because of the fact that people mind their business a lot of people who shouldn't be doing certain things have gotten away with doing certain things. So that is the bad side of it. Now, another good thing. So I know we are highlighting a lot of stuff that people generally don't share about New York, but I also think it's necessary to highlight the good transportation, the good transport network. I'm sure you guys have been hearing that sound. That's the train. It's moving constantly. There's a train to get you back and forth to from where you're going, to and from, right? So the transportation in New York is beautiful in terms of accessibility. I don't mean it's like the cleanest or smells the best or whatever, but there's a lot of accessible transport. You're able to get to and from wherever you're going without having to worry about getting stuck in a place. Of course, you have instances when the train is stuck because of another train, or because someone is sick, or because something has happened and whatever, and all those situations. But generally the transportation here is like amazing, and for that you don't even really need a car unless like you're far away from the good transport networks. But if you're in places where it's accessible, you don't really need a car. And even in spaces where it's like generally a bit harder to move, the buses are there to take you to and from wherever you need to go. So if you're in the city, you don't really need a car. You generally don't really need a car unless like you travel to go far. So you could be in the city, or you could be in one of the boroughs and live and work and access wherever it is that you need to get to without really necessarily needing to get a car. My 13th point, and this is like an honest raw observation, it is easy to become homeless in New York. I know I touched on this earlier, but in as much as opportunities are readily available, for you to find those opportunities takes an extra amount of work. It takes an extra prayer. It takes an extra layer of faith. It takes a lot of resilience, crying, patience, a lot. It just takes a lot. And in as much as opportunities come, opportunities equally go, and it's easy to find yourself in the worst of situations. It is easy to find yourself in a space where you lose your housing, you lose a job, things become generally too expensive for you, because it's very expensive to live here. It's very, very expensive to live here. And because of that, it's also very easy to become homeless. So I know sometimes people are going to say, oh, I see a homeless person, blah, 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 blah. Others are going to laugh at it. Not everybody who's found themselves in that situation wanted to be there. Not everybody was lazy. Not everybody wasn't working towards something. If you hear some of the stories as to how people got into those situations they're in, they would break your heart. Some situations are very heartbreaking because people didn't see those situations coming, you know? And so yeah, let us just be a little bit kinder to people. So all in all, I will end it by saying New York is a beautiful place. And as much as I've highlighted the things that people don't highlight and the things that may generally make it seem like New York is bad, New York is a beautiful place. Trust me, when I get into the city, and I see those tall buildings, and I see the glitz and the glams and the fancy cars and all that kind of stuff, I work a little harder. My fire comes back. It's like this passion is ignited within me. It's like I want to like strive harder to get the things that I know I deserve. I want to put myself out there a little more. It's like it feeds my soul personally. So with that being said, there are a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of good in New York that is to be highlighted, but that I feel as people highlight the good, they should be highlighting the reality of it as well. So that when people are moving here, not everybody's like extremely dreamy. Not everybody is like expecting, oh my god, it's gonna be easy. Oh my god, it's gonna be the best, blah blah blah. Yeah, we look at New York and we take the good and the bad that comes with it, you know. And yeah, guys, I'm sorry if my eyes were all over the place. I'm trying to like really get used to filming on this camera, and I think I was zoning out because at some point I was like living through my personal experiences. Like I was reliving my experiences that I've had living here in New York. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Until the next one, I love you guys to the moon and back. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. You know what? Share, share, share. Share with friends, share with family. Guys, I want this to be a source of income for me. And I'd appreciate anybody who shows me support, anybody who shows me love by generally sharing with their personal audience. And until the next one, guys, love you to the moon and back. Bye.